those days in England, with a sword in every pond, and birds in every garden in the land. One of those days in England, when the fashion never ends, a slowly moving season, by the fire of my friends. And though the time fast slips away, it's long enough to laugh and play around the fireside, making hay, dreaming of tomorrow. Hello again. On this video I'm going to show you how to play One of Those Days in England, the long version, the one that takes the whole side 2 of Bullinamingvase. If you are looking for the short version, the one that kicks off the album, there's no need to worry, because the long version is kind of book-ended by what I call the main theme. And the main theme is the short version in terms of structure. So in this video you will find everything you need to know to learn how to play the short version. Now, the long version of One of Those Days in England is a very long song, almost 20 minutes, and it has several sections. But actually most of those sections are very easy to play. In fact, the most complex section is the main theme, and there are a couple of instrumental sections that are a bit tricky. The original version of One of Those Days in England is in drop D tuning, like this. But in case you are listening to a live version, for instance the one in between every line, be sure that Roy has his guitar down-tuned maybe 1 or 2 tones, depends on the version you are listening to, but mostly it plays the same way. As I said, the long version of One of Those Days in England is kind of book-ended by what I call the main theme. The main theme was the part that I played at the beginning of this video, but actually there is an intro, as you probably know, and it's the one that goes like this. Every Wednesday morning, about the hour of 10, I give the Queen my autograph, and so on. This part is very simple. It's just 2 chords. It's a bar on the top strings, like power chords, in the 7th fret and in the 2nd fret. And the bottom strings are open, so we can do things like this. Okay, so 7th fret and 2nd fret. Even later, but the government must love me, cause they keep me out of work. They must be saving me for something special. So, just these 2 chords, very easy. And then at the end, or giving Miss Lovelace a pubic hairdo, and open strings, open D chord. And from here you go to the main theme that starts with this little riff. So let's check this out. This is played on the 8th and 9th frets, like this. And then you lift these 2 fingers and you have a bar on the 7th fret. After playing this little riff a couple of times, you start with this first chord, okay? For the first verse. One of those days in England, with a sword in every pond. The second chord is a bar on the top strings, 5th fret. So the same type of shape that you've used on the intro, but on the 5th fret. Every pond and birds in every garden in the land. Okay, so you stay on this chord. And then you do the riff once. One of those days in England when the passion never ends. So repeats, and then you go to this chord. A slowly moving season. So this chord is 3rd string, 5th string on the 1st fret, and all the other strings are open. A slowly moving season, and then this one. By the fire. So index finger on the 3rd string, 1st fret, ring finger on the 2nd string, 2nd fret, and middle finger on the 4th string, 2nd fret. By the fire. Here you lift your ring finger so that the 2nd string is open. Of my friends. And here you go to this chord. Index finger on the 3rd string, 3rd fret, and ring finger on the 5th string, 5th fret. Then you do this bending on the 5th string, 4th fret. It's the same shape, but you move it down a couple of frets. And then you just move your fingers on the 5th string. So your index finger is on the 3rd string, 1st fret, and then 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 1st fret, and you get to that chord that we've seen before. And then you go to this chord again, but instead of strumming like we've done before, you do this little picking like I'm going to do now. So once again you lift off the ring finger from the 2nd string. Bar on the first 2 strings, 4th fret. And after this you continue with the same progression, the one that starts with this chord and which we've seen before, but this time with vocals. And it goes like this. And though the time fast slips away, it's long enough to laugh and play around the fireside making hay, dreaming of tomorrow. Oh, you know, there is no today. Back to the beginning of the progression, and this time it's again instrumental. One of those days in England with the willow hanging on. And so you're back to the beginning of the main theme. On this second round, when you get to this chord, and then this one, you move on to another section with this chord. Alfred had me made from Eldon's Everglade, and I made him to lie with me when all my troubles fade. So this section is very easy. You just repeat this progression a few times. It starts with this chord, index finger on the 3rd string, 1st fret, and middle finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret. Then open strings, repeat, then bar on the top strings, 7th fret, made him to lie with me, same bar but on the 5th fret, open strings, when all my troubles fade, and finishes on the 7th fret. Then on the last verse it goes, I'll see you there and on. And now we enter the first instrumental break, which is a bit tricky, and it goes like this. This can be divided in 2 parts, and the first part plays the same way as the second, only on the first part you start on the 2nd string, and on the second part you start on the 4th string. So the riff plays like this. And then when you play it on the 4th string, or starting on the 4th string, it's almost the same. So let's check this in detail. You are playing on the 5th and 7th frets, and as I said, you start on the 2nd string, but actually when you play the 2nd string you also pick the 1st string, so that it sounds like, okay? And what you do is you hammer from the 5th to the 7th fret and then pull off to open strings, but picking both the 2nd and 1st strings, so it sounds like this. At the end you pick the 2nd string like this. Okay? And then you move to the 3rd string, 4th string, 2nd string open, and then you play a couple of strings simultaneously. Okay? So let's try to do this slowly. Then you repeat the same scheme but starting on the 4th string. Okay? Hammer, pull off, and then pick the 4th string open. 5th string and 6th string, and then the 3rd string open, and again pick a couple of strings like this, like you were doing here. Here you do. Now the whole progression. Let me try to do this slowly. So you do this a couple of times and then you move on to the next section, like this. So I got on board the Bullinamingvase and I rode. But every time I met a prince, a fog came down the road. This section is very simple and it's the same as the intro, but at a faster pace and with different lyrics and melody, but you can see the resemblance between the two sections. And so I got on board the aeons and I rode every Wednesday morning about the hour of 10. Well, stopping ain't that possible this far into control. Worry on and on, imagination. But the government must love me, 'cause they keep me out of work. Must be saving me for something special. And then at the end, when you get to the last line, the Time Lords of slowly revolution. And we move on to yet another section. This section lies heavily on this chord. And this chord, which I play like this, with the index finger on the 4th string, 10th fret, and middle finger on the 3rd string, 11th fret. And then you do this picking. 1st, 3rd and 4th. This is a chord that we are going to use on a couple of sections more later, and actually it sounds like this. So like a bar on the first 3 strings, 3rd fret, but it doesn't work this way to do the picking. You can also do it like this. Okay, so 3rd string, 4th string and 2nd string. But I think this is the best way to do this chord. So this part you start with this chord, and then you use these power chords on the 5th and 3rd frets by doing a bar on the top strings, and you play it like this. Notice the slow upward picking here on the 5th fret. Oh, heavens above, I'm coming with love. After this section you move on to the second instrumental beat, which is also a bit tricky, not because it's difficult to play, but because I think there is more than one guitar playing simultaneously. When Roy plays this live, plays it in a different way. It doesn't sound so good to me. I prefer the original version. So what I came up with is, well, it's what I think is what sounds closer to what I hear on the record. All over you. This is how I play it. You end up in this chord and you start the riff on the 3rd string from the 11th to the 10th fret. So first you pick the bass, then the 2nd beat you have to do a bar on the 5th fret, and then you press the 1st string on the 6th fret, and then you lift your finger and you have the bar. Okay, so the 3rd beat, again with open strings. Okay, so you do this shape here with your index finger on the 3rd string, 8th fret, and your middle finger on the 4th string, 9th fret. And you move that shape down 2 frets. And the final beat, you start with the bar on the 7th fret, and then you do this shape, the same shape, on the 8th and 9th frets, and then you move up a couple of frets. Notice that the bass is the same as when you lift the bar. You must lift the bar when you do this shape, so that you can slide it. Okay, so, and it's alright because the bass is the same. It's the same bass, so it keeps ringing. Okay, let's play this slowly. Sitting out there with a silvery hair. And now we enter yet another section. So this next section starts with this chord once again. Sitting out there with a silvery hair and your thundery look when you really don't care, but I love you. Okay, so bar on the 7th, then on the 5th, and finally on the 10th frets. Then on the last verse we have the transition to the next section. Looking for you when it's catch-22 and you've never been here, but it's always been blue up above me. Above me. And now we move on to the most rock and roll part of the song. On the album version, Roy is backed by a full band with bass and drums and electric guitars, and they are playing this rock and roll shuffle that sounds very much like something by the Status Quo or someone like that. And there's very little acoustic guitar. So for this lesson I will follow the live acoustic version that you can find on In Between Every Line. and it plays like this.
Oh, Mrs. Space took her man to the human race, and together they humped over the edge. 9 months later, they were sharing a brand new face. The latest thin edge of the wedge.
Well, this was tough. So you start with the bar on the 12th fret and you do this rhythm. So notice that you lift your fingers from the strings. Then repeat on the 7th fret. And at the end you go to the 5th fret, 7th fret, and back to the beginning. Then after a couple of verses you do this kind of chorus that goes like this.
Oh, Mrs. Space, I love you. When you come home on a eye, don't ever come between us, 'cause times don't change, they fly.
So you start with the bar on the 12th fret and you slide the bar up the neck like this. Then on the 10th fret, and then from the 5th to the 7th frets. It's all power chords. Here you do an open strings chord. And then at the last chorus you go like this.
'Cause times don't change, they fly.
And back to this chord that we've seen before. Okay? So bar on the 7th fret, you hold on and then this chord. And here we are at another section. This one goes like this.
Slowly slipping into history, feel us go. With these times, another age we'll never know. See the photos black and white and quaintly dressed, stood in queues of people smiling, sorely pressed.
So you repeat this progression and then on the last verse it goes.
The farthing in the change, the sirens and the planes, puffing billies shouting, gear us down the lane, down the lane.
And now as we get near the end of the song there are a couple of reprises of previous sections. And the first one is this one.
You know we'll soon be gone from here, year upon light year. We'll take the stories with us there. The memories are dear.
So This is actually the same as that part.
Alfred had me made.
So same chords, so we've seen this before. And then at the end, so you go back to the main theme, which is another reprise.
One of those days in England, Mum was rustling up the grub, and Dad was about dropping at the pub.
And the only thing to add is the way that Roy finishes the song, the main theme. And he does it this way with this progression, which we've seen before. So all of these chords we've seen before, you know it, so I hope that you have learned something from this video. And now just practice and practice and practice and practice and practice.